Hello. Today we're going to be talking about some of the approaches of linguistics and the way they came about. No one really thinks about how we talk or where we get it from. We're born, we're around a language, we learn it, and we speak it. Then we go to school and learn the rules of the language, grammar, and what goes where, vowels, consonants, commas, and whatnot. But there's more to language than that. um, Pretty much, there was two schools of thoughts. There was a structural approach to linguistics. And it was kind of like the main thing, the main idea. And there was a guy named Bloomfield. He was an advocate supporter of this approach. He Bloomfield developed Bloomfield linguistics, which pretty much describes sounds and morphemes of linguistics. He studies semantics, learning of sounds and this and that, and rules. But a lot of people kind of didn't go with that flow, and that's kind of how Bloomfield did it. His approach also was more mechanical. He said, in order to learn a language and speak, you gotta have these rules that you gotta listen to first. Kind of a mimicking sensation of linguistics as well. In other words, you didn't just start talking, you had to have heard it somewhere. The problem with that is, it doesn't explain some of the productivity aspects of it that Chomsky introduced later on. And it didn't explain as to how some children were able to, utter things without having to hear them first. And that's kind of where Bloomfield, having the mechanical approach different from Chomsky. So who's Chomsky? Where did he come from? What's so special about him? Well, in the 1950s, he kind of reinvented the wheel of linguistics, if you will. He emphasized a linguistic competence. In other words, the linguistics, what we speak, is more of a subconscious thing that we have. So, kind of like riding a bike, it's muscle memory. You're riding a bike, but once you learn how to ride it and you stop falling and hurting yourself, you kind of just ride the bike. You didn't even think about it. It's like a subconscious thing. That's kind of what Chomsky referred to in linguistics. It was a subconscious linguistics competence. Also, where Bloomfield had a mechanical approach, like we stated earlier about mimicking the rules, Chomsky introduced a mentalist approach. How does that differ? Well, he said we as humans were able to put things together just like that, kind of like software programs. You can just be able to put things together and talk. Kind of what I'm thinking about it, and that's what was derived into us. He believed that the language that we learn is driven from within. So we had a natural drive for language, and this has been thought to come from evolution. That was his approach on linguistics, as far as that part. He had a synaptic structure, and it changed the ideas of Bloomfield. So he started to change the whole Bloomfield aspect of linguistics. Whereas Bloomfield had a surface structure. The kind of, what we say, what we do, the surface structure was pretty much, as we speak. That was our surface structure. We're speaking, I'm talking to you right now, that is the surface structure of it. Whereas Chomsky said, hey, how about a deep structure, which goes along with the subconscious approach of how we talk. So these are kind of the basic things that differ Chomsky's school of thought on linguistics versus the Bloomfield mechanical approach that was done before that. So this didn't stay consistent. Eventually, right up here, Chomsky introduced a parameter theory. Parameter theory. What's that and why do we care about it? Well, parameter theory, essentially what it does, it explains that no matter what language you speak, like for example with modifiers, you might have a modifier before the subject, before the word, before it or after it. However, the modifier would have to be close to the actual word. Actual word being modified. In other words, you couldn't have the modifier at the beginning of the sentence and the word you're trying to modify at the end of the paragraph. It doesn't work that way. They kind of have to be within a few words of each other in order to modify that word. So those are kind of the basic differences between these two individuals. Now, this Chomsky, as we all know, he's like, Superman in the world of linguistics. He's been the most quoted person, one of the top 10, and he's like a rock star. Not to take away from Bloomfield, because again, this is all really, what school of thought are we going to take to this? It's just what Chomsky introduced in the 50s and the way that linguistics comes according to Chomsky. So those are just some of the basic differences and examples when it comes to linguistics and the two individuals behind it.